Hello and welcome to Pregnancy Info. Today we are discussing the question that how long it takes sperms to reach the egg after sex. If you are trying to get pregnant and want to get clued up on all things conception, you might want to know how long it takes sperms to reach the egg. A fertility expert explains what does happen inside the reproductive system after ejaculation. We all know that in order to get pregnant, a sperm needs to fertilize an egg. It sounds simple enough, but there is more to it than you might think. If you have unprotected sex in your fertile window, you might assume that you are granted to get pregnant. In fact, there is only a 10% to 33% chances of getting pregnant, depending on how close to ovulation you do it, which shows there are a fair few hurdles standing in the way. If you are interested in fertility tracking and want to clue yourself on all things conception, you are probably keen to know the details. How long does it actually take to sperm to reach the egg after sex? What does the journey involve? And how many sperms can you realistically expect to make it all the way? To answer these questions, we are going to explain these questions one by one. How does sperm reach the egg after sex? First thing, let's look at where sperm need to travel in order to reach the egg. Following ejaculation, sperm have to swim a mighty journey. They need to travel from the vagina through the cervix into the uterus and finally into the correct uterine tube to locate the egg. No mean feet. All in all, this encompasses a distance of 15 to 18 centimeters, a very long way for a sperm to swim. How long does it take sperm to reach the egg? Now that we know how far they have to travel, you are probably wondering how long it typically takes for sperm to swim the distance. Usually the sperm reaches the egg within 15 to 45 minutes of ejaculation. However, the process could be much longer than if you haven't ovulated yet by the time you have sex, because sperm can live inside the reproductive tract and wait for an egg for up to 5 days. While the journey to the egg is certainly long and arduous for the tiny sperm, they do have a helping hand to swim the distance within just 8 seconds of sperm entering the vagina. The pH in the upper vagina is raised, making it a nicer environment in which to swim. Around the same time, within a minute after ejaculation, the semen becomes a gel or coagulum. Researchers aren't yet 100% sure why this happens, but it has been suggested that it can help to keep the sperm near the opening of the cervix. Then, around 30 to 60 minutes later, the gel degrades and sperms can begin to swim again. How many sperms reach the egg and where does fertilization take place? Only a very small fraction of ejaculation sperms actually make it all the way to the egg. Around 300 million sperms are typically released during sex, but only about 200 sperm will reach the egg. This is still a pretty big number since we only need one sperm to fertilize an egg. Not only do these sperms have to swim a great length to reach your egg, but there are also a number of booby traps. Think of these as your body's natural defenses to make sure only the best sperm reach your egg. First sperm that reach the cervix will encounter cervical mucus, which can bind and trap the sperm. If you are trying to conceive, don't worry. During ovulation, these mucus becomes more watery to allow more sperms to pass through. Next, sperm that make it through the cervix will then travel to either the right or left uterine tube. This gives them a 50-50 chances of finding an egg, as we ovulate in either our right or left uterine tube each month. It's estimated that only around 10,000 sperm will actually enter the correct tube. To make matters even more complicated, the uterine tubes also have very narrow opening on the uterus side, once more reducing the number that will successfully reach their destination. However, this is the last hurdle, as fertilization then typically takes place in the uterine tube. Why doesn't pregnancy occur every time you have sex during ovulation? So far, the math doesn't quite seem to add up. Around 200 sperm from each ejaculation can be expected to reach the egg. Yet, conception only happens between 10% and 33% of the time when unprotected sex occurs during a fertile window. So the question remains, why doesn't pregnancy occur every time we have unprotected sex during ovulation, there are a number of reasons. Not every sperm is capable of fertilizing an egg due to the shape of its head or other defects it may have that don't facilitate it in penetrating the egg or shell. Also, women age, the outer shell of the egg may thicken and harden, making it harder to fertilize. If an egg and sperm are placed in a dish together, you can get failed fertilization. What happens if sperm reaches an egg that is already fertilized? Remember, the fertilized egg was surrounded by multiple competitive sperm that look like they might be on the brink of entering the egg at any moment. So the question is, can sperm enter an egg that's already been fertilized? Quite simply, the answer is no. Once the sperm breaks through, the shell of the egg is cemented so no other sperm can come in. One question can you think is that can you feel the fertilization or implantation of egg? No, you won't feel either fertilization or the fertilized egg embedded itself in the wall of your uterus. You might experience some light bleeding or spotting when implantation occurs, so if this happens, don't worry. However, if you are concerned, be sure to book a checkup with a healthcare provider. What is implantation and how long does it take a fertilized egg to implant? Implantation occurs when a fertilized egg travels down a uterine tube to implant in the wall of the uterus. It can take around 6 to 10 days for a fertilized egg to implant depending on how far it has to travel. If the egg is fertilized higher up in the uterine tube, it will naturally take longer to move down to the uterus. Is there anything you can do to boost your chances of sperm fertilization? Ideally, you need to have sex no more than 5 days before ovulation in order for fertilization to occur. You can boost your chances of fertilization by tracking your cycle and having sex as close to ovulation as possible. In fact, one study published in the Fertility and Sterility Journal in 2019 found that women were most likely to get pregnant 41% by having sex the day before they ovulated. So this is all about the time of sperm travel, distance it can travel, and how it performs its function to get you pregnant. So share this information with your friends and must share your opinion through the comment section. Thank you.